Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 things you probably didn't know about Sub-Zero. Now this is going to be an introduction for Injustice players to become more familiar with the Sub-Zero character. But do not fret, Mortal Kombat fans, as I'm going to feature some really cool stuff in here that you most likely have never heard of, as I've never discussed it here on my channel properly. Now on that note, let's actually get on to the video. Now at number 5, let's talk about the rather obvious one. There have been 2 different Sub-Zeros in the Mortal Kombat continuity. First one being Han, having featured in the first Mortal Kombat game, as well as the prequel game in Mythologies. After he perished by the hands of Scorpion, his younger brother, going by the codename of Tundra at the time, picked up the mantle of Sub-Zero, and has achieved a lot more than his older brother, even becoming the Grand Master of the Lin Kuei, the assassin guild he originates from, and reinventing the assassin clan back into assassins, as before this there was an event called the Cyber Initiative that ended up converting many individuals into cyborg ninjas. Don't worry, it's as cool as it sounds, we'll get to that. So by there in fact being 2 different Sub-Zeros, this also does mean that Sub-Zero has technically featured in every single Mortal Kombat game, main continuity wise. Number 4. Now whilst Kuai Liang was head of the Lin Kuei, he would recruit many people into the organization, but he never really tutored people personally. That was up until he met someone by the name of Frost, who in fact was a cryomancer much like him. So he would personally tutor her, but ultimately it would fail as her jealousy and greed turned her against her master, which ultimately led to her downfall. Now this wasn't the only protege that Sub-Zero had ever had. Here's a fun fact for some of you Mortal Kombat fans. During the Malibu Comics run of Mortal Kombat, they gave Sub-Zero a friend slash sidekick, one who you might be familiar with if you see Mortal Kombat Legacy, Hydro. Now unlike Frost, Hydro isn't a cryomancer, but he does have the ability to manipulate water and change its temperature upon touch, so he could throw a wave at you and then instantly freeze you in place, or boil you, since like I said he can manipulate the temperature within water. That's some Full Metal Alchemist shit. Now despite having a rather new and cool looking protege, his run in the comics was extremely short. Hydro came into contact with Scorpion and allowed his arrogance to get the best of him, which did in fact lead to his own death. Of course we get Hydro later on, but he's pretty much all cyberized in the Mortal Kombat Legacy series and never does actually appear in the main canon of the game. So this has been a little fun fact for you. Number 3. Sub-Zero became Batman for a while? Allow me to elaborate. When Mortal Kombat came to the end of its original timeline, they decided to create a crossover game, that game being Mortal Kombat vs the DC Universe. Now although this game was pretty much shunned by the entirety of the Mortal Kombat fanbase due to its lack of gore and fatalities, there were some good bits to the game, and one of these was Sub-Zero's arcade ladder ending, where after defeating Dark Khan and the whole merging world thing is stopped, Sub-Zero is inspired by Batman and his philosophies. So when Sub-Zero returns back to Earthrealm, he decides that he wants to leave the Lin Kuei, and does so. He does this so he can now help benefit Earthrealm by working in the shadows. By having him being in the public eye, he puts himself in a very vulnerable position, so he decides to stick to the shadows and remove any people who he personally deems as a threat to his home. The downside to in fact doing this though is that by leaving the Lin Kuei, he is automatically branded as a traitor. From that point onwards, that kind of spin-off crazy timeline, he is going to be hunted down by his old clan. Now at number 2, Sub-Zero at some point was transformed into a cyborg. You see, during the reboot of the timeline, many things were altered, including who was transformed into a cyborg and who wasn't. This happened during the Mortal Kombat 2 section of the main Mortal Kombat 9 story mode, where the Cyber Initiative was starting to happen, and many recruits who were part of the Lin Kuei were forcibly put into the Cyber Initiative. Now understandably, many people would run away from this, these 2 being Smoke and Sub-Zero. Now in the main timeline, Smoke would be captured and be cyberized, but due to like the whole butterfly effect in this timeline, he's able to remain as human, and instead Sub-Zero is the one to be cyberized. Now this wouldn't last for an extremely long amount of time, because he would be killed. After being turned back into a good guy, he would be killed by Sindel, and then be enslaved by Quan Chi as a revenant. Now Quan Chi does see the faults of being a cyborg, so what he also does is completely strip him of all his mechanical parts and forcibly have him regrow all of his flesh. That sounds really gross. So this is also the main reason why Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat X isn't still a cyborg. Quan Chi is really the main reason that he is now human. So I guess yay Quan Chi. Now here's a bonus and extra fun fact for you guys. Sub-Zero had inspired a wrestling company, WCW, to turn one of his performers into a really cheap knockoff version of Sub-Zero. This was Glacier. Glacier was portrayed by Raymond M. Lloyd, a highly skilled martial artist and someone who was very well versed in Judo and Kempo. So instead of actually bringing that really unique style to the wrestling ring, they instead decided to just dress him up as Sub-Zero. Sorry, I mean Decaf Sub-Zero. Decaf Zero? Maybe. Now this was solely done so that way WCW could capitalize on the hype created by the Mortal Kombat movie, hoping that would bring in ratings, as at the time they were currently competing with another wrestling wrestling company, WWF, now known as WWE. So from what you can obviously tell, this idea bombed, and people could clearly see through the facade of what the company was doing. Extra fun fact for you guys, the production cost of every single entrance he had was $500,000, and the costume alone he was wearing cost $35,000. No wonder this company got put out of business, my god. Number 1. The original Sub-Zero lives on but as a new character, and he is called Noob Saibot. Now Noob Saibot is a very odd name for a character, but there is a reason for this. The two creators of the original Mortal Kombat game, Ed Boon and John Tobias, names have been put into Noob Saibot. Boon backwards is Noob, and Tobias backwards is Saibot. So when you put the two together, you get Noob Saibot. Now Noob, unlike the current Sub-Zero, does not have access to his Cryomancer moves anymore. Ever since being turned into like a Revenant Wraith, he's taken on a much darker moveset, being able to manipulate dark shadows to his advantage, such as using them mid-combo or using them as projectiles, which is something we see a little bit of within the Injustice 2 Sub-Zero trailer. So I will leave you all with a question here. Do you think there'll be a Noob Saibot shader for Sub-Zero? Please put down in the comments below. And this pretty much does wrap up this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been something quite new and different for me, and I hope I've pulled out some facts here that newer and older fans to my channel didn't quite know. And who knows, if you guys actually like this, I might start doing it more. Now, a heads up for Injustice fans, tomorrow I'll be discussing the character endings that we've had and what tangents this could lead to the next game, storyline wise anyway, as it's always quite fun to speculate of what can be. And if you are a Tekken fan, please keep an eye out for Saturday, as I'll be talking about Lei Wulong, and I'll be going over the entirety of his history within the Tekken franchise. Now before this video wraps up, guys, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel, as YouTube's algorithm system is pretty much broken at this point, so by just giving it a simple thumbs up, it helps out a ton. Now as always, guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.